Hello, everyone. Today, the weather is about to get crazy across the United States as we expect a record breaking heat wave to impact most of the country over the next few days. Eventually, we'll be talking about several winter storms by the middle and end of this week and into next week. By mid-February, we could see a massive Arctic blast. In today's forecast, we'll break down everything you need to know about the weather that will be affecting the United States over the next 7 to 10 days. We'll start with what's happening across the country today. Some snow is currently moving across the Midwest and the Great Lakes this morning. This system will eventually push into the Northeast, bringing a couple of inches of snow to many areas across New England tonight and into tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, the rest of the East Coast and the Southern Plains remain very dry, and we expect this dry pattern to continue for the next few days. This is due to a developing La Nina weather pattern, which typically brings drier than normal conditions to these regions during this time of year. Interestingly, La Nina is finally kicking in as we didn't see much of its influence in January over on the West Coast and across the Rocky Mountains. A powerful atmospheric river event is underway, dumping enormous amounts of snow and rain along the coast. Higher elevations in the Sierra Nevada could see as much as 150 inches of snow by the end of the week. This is an extreme event, classified as a Category 4 atmospheric river. The weather is set to change drastically in the coming weeks. We expect a record-breaking heat wave over the next few days, followed by multiple winter storms and then some of the coldest weather of the year by mid-February due to a potential Arctic blast. Now let's take a look at the jet stream pattern over the next few days. Right now, we have a relatively zonal flow across most of the country, which will help prevent major or extreme weather events aside from a possible quick-hitting winter storm or two in the Midwest and Northeast around Wednesday and Thursday. There could also be another winter weather event closer to the weekend across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast, bringing snow and possibly freezing rain that could lead to ice accumulation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to stay updated with the latest weather information. Things start to get interesting next week. While the jet stream remains mostly zonal, we should begin to see more dips, allowing larger winter storms to develop. We haven't seen this pattern in about a week or two, but by mid-February, it's likely to ramp up again. At that point, the polar vortex may start unleashing frigid air into Canada, which could eventually push down into the United States. The GFS model suggests that by mid-February, a strong northwesterly flow could develop over the Rocky Mountains and extend across most of the lower 48 states, ushering in Arctic air. Since this is still about 2 weeks away, confidence in this scenario remains relatively low. However, I'd estimate about a 1 in 3 chance of a significant Arctic blast occurring by mid-February. Over the next couple of weeks, several winter storms are expected in the U.S. The first, likely the weakest of the bunch, will impact the country between Wednesday and Thursday. A broad area of snow, freezing rain, and regular rain will stretch across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. There could even be a risk of severe weather in the lower Midwest on Wednesday. By Thursday, the storm will expand and intensify over the Northeast, bringing a mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow. The heaviest snowfall will likely be in the Northeast, but we'll provide more details in our next forecast update tomorrow morning. Our next winter storm won't be far behind, likely arriving between Saturday and Sunday, bringing another shot of snow to the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and beyond. Snow is expected in the Northeast as well, but the exact details of where it will fall and when it will happen remain uncertain since we are still about 5 to 7 days away. As we move into early next week, things become even more interesting. This is when we expect the potential for an Arctic blast in the United States, which could significantly impact the weather. We could be looking at widespread rainfall and snow across the country, but the exact locations remain uncertain since this event is still over 10 days away, meaning conditions could change. Now let's take a look at the European model for some perspective. It shows a much more intense winter storm developing on Wednesday and Thursday, with a larger area of freezing rain across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast, as well as more snowfall in the northern plains. This scenario is more intense than what other models indicate, but it also shifts the storm further north, suggesting that the Northeast may not see much snow or freezing rain. This trend is something we need to monitor closely, as there is significant disagreement between the European and GFS models regarding this winter weather event. Looking ahead to the weekend, the European model continues to show another winter storm developing in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. However, the exact location and intensity of this system remain unknown, as we are still 5 to 7 days out. By the middle of next week, the models show a very active weather pattern continuing into mid-February with a high likelihood of widespread snowfall. It may sound crazy, but there is even a chance for severe weather in the Ohio Valley and Northeast on Wednesday and Thursday. The presence of instability this far north during February is unusual, and while it is not a significant amount, it is still noteworthy. There could be a few isolated severe storms in the Ohio Valley and parts of the lower Midwest, with the potential for hail, strong winds, and even an isolated tornado or two. We will be watching this closely and may even consider a live stream if a severe weather event materializes, which would be highly unusual for this time of year. Additionally, heavy rain is expected across much of the United States over the next couple of weeks. In the next 7 days alone, we anticipate significant rainfall in the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic regions. The West Coast will also see substantial rainfall, with some areas in Northern and Western California receiving 6 to 10 inches of rain. Even Southern California will see some much-needed rainfall. Meanwhile, the Central and Southern Plains are not expected to receive much precipitation through the weekend, but that could change by mid-February. Now, let's talk about the extreme temperature swings we are seeing across the United States. A significant heat wave is on the way, followed by the potential for an Arctic blast in mid-February that could bring extremely cold weather. Over the next few days, warm air will build across the Great Plains, Ohio Valley, and much of the eastern U.S. Meanwhile, Arctic air will settle over the Pacific Northwest. For those hoping for colder weather, the bad news is that this particular Arctic blast will not push far south. It will primarily impact the central and northern plains, as well as the Pacific Northwest, where record-breaking temperatures will still be possible even into Tuesday. Meanwhile, the southern plains and southeast will continue experiencing unusually warm conditions. By the middle and end of the week, temperatures will return closer to average. The warmth will be extreme in some areas. Tomorrow, parts of Texas will see temperatures in the 80s, with some areas near Abilene possibly reaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit. In Tennessee, Kentucky, and Missouri, temperatures will climb into the 60s and even 70s, while central Indiana and Ohio will see highs in the mid-60s. It will be a complete contrast to areas near the U.S.-Canada border, where sub-zero high temperatures will make it feel like an entirely different world. Record-breaking temperatures are expected over the next several days across the desert Southwest, Southern Plains, and Ohio Valley. By Tuesday, the heat will extend further south, bringing record highs to the Atlanta, Georgia region. On Wednesday and Thursday, the warmth will expand across the southern plains and southeast, reaching as far north as Virginia. By Friday, temperatures become more uncertain, but additional record-breaking highs remain possible. After one of the coldest Januaries in recent years, the chances of a major Arctic blast in mid-February continue to rise. If it happens, the most likely time frame will be between February 15th and 17th. Right now, I'd estimate about a 1 in 3 chance of this occurring, with increasing odds of a significant cold outbreak around the middle of the month. Take a look at the projected temperature patterns between February 15th and 18th. If this forecast holds, it could bring some of the coldest weather we've seen all winter. Confidence in this event is growing as multiple computer models, including the European model, are now showing a similar pattern, a sharp plunge of Arctic air into the U.S. While the exact timing and intensity of this Arctic outbreak remain uncertain, there is a good chance we will see a major blast of cold air, especially after this ongoing heat wave. The temperature shift reminds me of what we saw in December and January. December was unusually warm, January was bitterly cold, and now after a brief warm period, we could be heading into another round of extreme cold. By Wednesday, a storm system will move into the central U.S., bringing cold air at the surface while moisture runs up and over it. Unfortunately, this setup could lead to significant ice accumulation around the Great Lakes. Heavy rain is also possible in the Ohio Valley from Wednesday into early Thursday. Farther north, this system could bring substantial snowfall to the northern Great Lakes, New England, and eventually Atlantic Canada by late Thursday. Behind the storm, temperatures will drop heading into next weekend, continuing the active storm pattern. A series of storms will move from California through Colorado, the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and into eastern Canada. Where warm air dominates, rain will be more common than snow, particularly across Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. However, cold air wrapping around the system could bring clouds and scattered snow flurries, something that many in these areas are already accustomed to. As we move into the second full week of February leading up to Valentine's Day, the storm track is expected to shift farther south, bringing more cold air intrusions. While it's still too early for precise details, one model suggests that colder air could push southward into cities like St. Louis, Kansas City, Chicago, Detroit, and possibly Omaha, which has yet to see much snow this season. This southward progression could bring winter weather mischief, but specific details remain uncertain. What is clear is that additional cold air will likely move in through mid-February and potentially beyond. Looking at the Pacific Northwest, Seattle and Tacoma could see some snow, though amounts will be relatively light compared to the higher elevations. Portland may receive about an inch, while places like Eugene could see some accumulating snowfall. Bend and surrounding mountain areas will receive more significant snowfall. In California, Northern California is expected to see the heaviest snowfall, with some models suggesting as much as 64 inches of fresh powder in parts of the Sierra Nevada. The Tahoe region could receive up to a foot or more in higher elevations, making this a significant winter storm for the area. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned for my next update. I'll keep you protected before and after the storm.